Hey guys, it's Ryu again, and I'm doing another video on the ever-evolving and always entertaining topic that is the current drama with the CLG team. I guess it's mostly been focused around Tarek, but I think FNS has been a little bit um, in the crossfire of people posting, some people intelligently, some people obviously unintelligently on the forums. And FNS has been out there kind of posting his thoughts and his rebuttals, and in some cases attacking people that maybe deserve it, but at that level, it's probably not even worth his time. And then I noticed a couple things today. Tarek started streaming this morning, and he was streaming a demo review, and there's just a couple things that I thought were abundantly clear at that point. So I said, let me make another video. And I guess the first point I'd love to make is that I think Tarek is a nuts fragger. I mean, the guy is a very good player as it sits today in this very moment. I think he has a very high skill ceiling, which Steele actually told him, and I completely agree with. I think his aim and his shot is just incredible, and he's got very far based on those two things. He is still apparently unwilling to accept that, in-game intelligence, call it game sense, situational awareness, give it any of the names that you want, is not on his top 2, 3, maybe top 5 qualities that make him a good player, a good teammate. And watching him watch the demos today, I think, to me at least, made it very obvious that he does not have a mind that's centered around some of the more tactical and strategic elements of the game. And I'm going to explain why, and the reason I'm on Inferno is because he was watching a demo on Inferno. He did not really know how to use the demo UI, and by that I mean when it was time to skip rounds, he was fast forwarding instead of just skipping the rounds. When he wanted to skip 2 or 3 rounds to skip some of the ecos and to skip some of the pistol round stuff, he didn't seem to know how to do that. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe he does. But that was one thing I just thought was kind of telling, that he doesn't really watch demos, and we talked a little bit about that in the last video, which is something I caught this morning that I thought was interesting. And the other thing that he was doing in the demo review is he was watching Hellraisers versus Fnatic, and he's like, I just want to see how they play their B setup. Completely admirable, respectable thing to want to see, how another team or a team at the very high levels of the game has their their B set up in the different ways that they play bomb site B on Inferno. But all he was doing was basically naming where they were going. Like, he's like, oh yeah, he ran oranges. Okay, yeah, he ran behind. Oh, he's behind the fountain. Okay, yeah, he went spindles. Yeah, this is a weird setup. I mean, this is just, it seems like a really easy setup. We have a better setup. Oh, okay, yeah, and he's running back fountain now. Yeah. Oh yeah, he got a kill. He probably could get 2 there. And that was it. And then he basically said oh yeah, I didn't really learn anything. They don't have any crazy cool setups or anything really nice over there. And to me, it completely blew my mind, because all the things he was missing was because he didn't even know what to look for. It was super obvious to me that he had never really done a good, thorough, intelligent demo review to figure things out on how to play a position better or how a team was doing things. It was super obvious this is not the guy you want counter-stratting. This is not the guy you want calling for your team. What Fnatic were actually doing, so Hellraisers, a couple times they played with 3 players, and they would throw kind of the standard, they would molly, nade, flash down Banana to try to get banana control. And Fnatic had a great counter to it, where they were throwing a couple flashes of their own. I didn't get to see the one because it was from his perspective, but it's pretty common for sometimes 3 players to start banana at the start. They kind of nade and they molly this area. They usually they flash over. They throw the flash that banks off this thing and lands in front of the car. And the whole premise of doing that is to get control of banana early, so that you can either funnel them towards A, or if you can get a smoke down here and get somebody kind of under pillar. You guys have seen this, right? This is pretty standard stuff. But in only wanting to see some wildly crazy setup at bomb site B, which is basically the only thing it seemed like Tarek was looking for, he completely missed how Fnatic was getting control of this. They threw one flash and it must have come up top somewhere, and the second Angel went to peek, after throwing his, he was completely blind, and he basically kind of sprayed like this and was immediately dead. Fnatic threw a great Molotov when they knew they had somebody posted sandbag and somebody on the corner where they were throwing it, I guess, from back here. It's probably super simple, maybe throwing it over here. But the Molotov was basically landing like right here, and it was completely isolating this guy, which then Fnatic was able to take. Like all the things tactically that Fnatic was doing were just exceptional things that Tarek was completely missing because he was looking for some sort of miracle crossfire or something in this bomb site. Like it was super obvious he just had no cerebral anything going on other than he was watching someone and naming the spots that he was going to. Like, oh yeah, he's back. Oh yeah, he went new box. Oh yeah, from here he should be able to get like 2. It was super disappointing to me. And the other point that I'll make off that is it felt like it was completely a PR move, right? He was getting a ton of hate yesterday. And hate might be the wrong word, but I think if you read some of the posts on the forums, which you may develop, some sort of condition after reading, because some of those things you're just like, how does this person even have a computer connected to the internet? But anyway, he probably felt very hated on. And I don't hate him. I think he's a great player. I want to see him learn this stuff and be willing to learn this stuff so that he becomes better, his team becomes better as a result, and North America stops being the joke that it is in terms of international competitive Counter-Strike right now. It just felt like he was watching the demo as a PR move. It really did. It was an early stream, which I guess he doesn't usually do. I don't get to catch the streams a lot because of my job, but it was an early stream, and it was just like, oh, I'm just going to put a demo on. I don't really know how to use, this thing. I'm just going to keep, just doing this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and I'm going to name the spots. Yeah, I don't really like. I didn't see any cool setups. I didn't see any really great setups over there. Guess what? Most teams play these sites the same way. A map like Inferno, a map like Dust 2, not a lot of crazy innovation happening on those maps because they're so old and they've been played to death that, yeah, it's pretty standard. It's pretty standard. But understanding the things that the other team was doing, instead of staring at the one CT guy that was playing, in the same standard spots at this site that everybody does, he could have been watching and saying like, oh, wow, yeah, how would I have countered if Fnatic did that to us? How would we have done that? Maybe we should steal that for our T side. All those things completely over his head. The other thing is he was super mad on stream. And I told him, like, hey, if you're willing to have like a legit, honest conversation, I've been super fair on this, understanding his and FNS's standpoint on a bunch of things. And I think if he would have taken me up on that, we could have had a pretty good conversation, and maybe he would have taken some things away. Because I'm not attacking him in the way that I feel like Steele and some of the people in the forums are. I just want him to see these things and for him to have that kind of eye-opening moment where he's like, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't even think of that. And then to absorb things as a result of it. Instead, he told me that I was completely ridiculous and that I, quote, didn't know how things were. I don't really know exactly what that means. Maybe I have no idea how things are. I feel like I've got a pretty good knowledge of the game. Does that mean I'm a better player than him? Absolutely not. But it was just one of those things where it seemed like he is the type of person. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Let's say he's a natural at baseball. Right? Pretty off the wall thing there, because there's just not a lot of hype in America for baseball these days. But let's say he's a natural baseball player, right? And he plays all through his childhood, and he plays in the high school, and it's super easy. He gets to college, and it's kind of hard, but he's like, I've got a lot of talent. I'm just going to rely on my talent, and it's going to get me pretty far. And then he realizes that there are people that have the same natural talents as him that are putting in the work and learning other things to better themselves at the game of baseball that he's not. And they blow past him. And when people say, like, yeah, man, he's got so much potential. If he would just do one or two things, maybe he could see it realized someday. And his response is, I'm mad that person said that. I hate that. It's very immature. And one of the things I ended up seeing a little bit later on one of the threads was a list of all the posts that Tarek had made, I guess, asking someone to do his homework for him in college, and on some relatively simple things like, low-level college algebra, some things that I was like, okay, so I kind of get a little bit of the idea psychologically into the head of him. I'm not going to go super Freudian on you guys, but it seemed like he's the type of person that wants things to continue to come easily, wants things to be a little bit handed to him, doesn't really want to have to work too hard, and that's okay if he's willing to settle and do that, and that's fine. I would think that the players on CLG are going to want more from him than that, and I think that if he's willing to put in more from that, the sky's the limit for him as a player. I just wish he would see that, and instead of being mad and defensive about it, just kind of be opening to just listening, hearing what people are saying, and taking some of it, absorbing it, and then saying like, "Hey, listen, Steel. Hey, listen, Dazed. Hey, listen, name person that's smarter than him." Or even better, hey, FNS, you mentioned that you watch all our demos. Can you just go over a couple things that maybe I'm doing wrong? And let's sit down and go through this. And then more so than what I'm doing wrong, can you explain what you would have done or what you think I should have done that was different or better? That could be the simplest thing in the world. And if he's willing to do that, I think it would be huge for him and his team. And then the last point I'll make, is this has already gone on way longer than I was hoping, is that I feel like from everything that we've seen the past couple days, whether or not CLG gets off the plateau that they're on, whether or not they become an absolute force internationally, domestically, or if they kind of stay where they are and maybe some of the other teams close the gap and maybe continue to start to pass them, is entirely 100% on the shoulders of FNS as the leader of that team. And the reason that I think that, or the reason I should say I know that, is because when you are the leader of a team, it is your responsibility for corralling your teammates and leveraging all of their strengths and putting them in the best possible position based on what you know about them as a player and a person, and to do so in a way that they're comfortable with what they're doing, it fits their skills, and it fits the needs of the team. I don't know that they've really found that yet. I'm not sure how they break the roles down, and they haven't announced their 5th player yet. But with a player like Tarek on the team that has super potential, great fragger, amazing shot, he's someone that FNS is going to have to do, and it sounds terrible, it's really not. He's going to have to do a lot of the thinking for him. And what I mean by that is, on a map like Cache, like we saw the other night in that VOD, one of the things that FNS was saying is they don't believe they need to get map control for some of their executes. Or even an even better example, CT side, there was one round where I think there was maybe a smoke thrown at bomb site A. Somebody on the team said, I think they're coming A, and Tarek just immediately pushed B. And then Tarek and Steel and FNS argued about it for like 30 minutes. It was like the main argument that they had. Things like that. As a leader, FNS knows that maybe in the moment, Tarek, as an aggressive player, is going to have the tendency to push out 90% of the time. And maybe what they do in practice is they say, listen, if we see 1 or 2 at B, what I want you to do is pop flash the corner, peek it. If you don't see anything, I want you to fall back, and I want you to spot from in the site. Go to a spot in the back of the site and just spot it. And if you see them walk in, your job is to then tuck, throw a flash, maybe take 1 or 2 very, very hard battles for the other person, like super tight angles, like, don't peek out really wide like this, but maybe take an angle as the guy's running in the site or something. And your job is to delay for us to get there, because that means they would have thrown a fake. If he does that in practice, when it comes time to the match, Tarek doesn't need to think about what to do, right? He's already done it. It becomes routine or habit. It becomes part of what the rotation is, the standard way that they operate. And that's just one way that they can leverage leadership to bypass maybe some mental shortcomings that exist. But it was a little disappointing to me to see some of the things that was in that other thread today, which I guess I can link in the comments, that Steel had deleted the VOD because I think that Tarek got really, really upset. And it's kind of a shame, because I don't think he needs to get upset. I think he could have been pretty forthcoming and honest and just say like, yeah, hey, X, Y, or Z. But I think in his head, he's way wiser than everyone's saying that he is, and he's having a little bit of a hard time admitting it. Just kind of a shame. What else? Any other points that I wanted to make before I end this video? Yeah, I guess the other thing was that I saw in that thread that FNS had recognized that they didn't like their default, and so they were going to have a better default, and they were going to focus on map control. And then I think they lost last night to Lunatic, which is a decent team. I mean, they're not a bad team, I would say they're better than decent. They're a good team. We played them the other night in a best of three. We didn't play them on cash though, but it seems like from a talent perspective, CLG should put the stomping on those guys, and I think they got stomped like 16-9 or 16-10 or something. I'm not entirely sure what the final was because I had a match to play last night while that took place. But it's again, it goes back to what I was saying yesterday, where sometimes if you rely too heavily on your individual skill or your skill as players and not enough on your teamwork, the team with the teamwork is going to come in and beat you. And there's a good chance that that's what happened last night. Don't know for certain if that was the case, but that's what my gut tells me. So anyway, those are my points. Tarek, I think you're a nuts player, man. I think you have all the potential in the world, and I really, really hope that you're willing to have someone, help you realize it. You don't feel like you need to do it on your own, and you don't feel like people that are saying you haven't reached your potential are doing it in a way that's insulting or offensive to you. I think I know, and I can't speak for the idiots on the forums. I just know in my case that I think you should take this and not take it offensively, but to take it as someone that genuinely wants you to get better, because genuinely improves the chances of an entire continent of being competitive at this game again. I think you don't feel the need to make these PR moves. Don't feel the need like you need to watch these demos on stream, because people that do watch demos and analyze and break things down, they're going to see it for what it is, and it's just going to do more harm than good. So if you want to do those offline, or you want to do them with FNS or Steel or whatever, don't do it on stream. And don't get mad at that stuff, man. Really don't. And FNS, I think the future of CLG depends entirely on you. And I hope that you're willing to put in the time and the effort. It seems like you are. You've been really passionate in your response in the forums, which I think is a really good thing. So I would, if I'm you, I'm coming up with different ways to minimize the requirement for in-game real-time decision-making and processing. I'm coming up with ways that you can maybe spend time in demo reviews and explain, hey, not only are you watching this person, but keep an awareness of what's going on, and try to think, hey, he keeps getting flashed by this amazing pop flash. How could you play it better? If a molly comes, what should you fall back to? And to make things more cerebral for your team, instead of all just let's peek and we didn't hit our shots, so we lose. Because shots are going to be missed no matter what. No matter how, look at players like Scream that have the best aim in the world. They miss shots all the time. So if you can rely on teamwork and you can be intelligent, you can win rounds with your brain that require minimal aim. And those are the rounds that, when you combine it with the amazing talent that you have on the roster, can get you guys way over the hump if you're losing to teams that are kind of subpar to you today. So that's it. Hopefully somebody will watch this. Appreciate all the feedback you guys posted on this. The other video was pretty fantastic. I think it had a bunch of likes immediately and maybe like 10 or so comments. So if you guys have feedback, good, bad, and different, I always love hearing it. And we'll see you guys next time.